Okay, so um, I just want to quickly go through the steps again when you are writing an amplification. We wrote one before, and it was the George Washington point of view, but we only really focused on the dialogue, adding dialogue, and maybe some detailed action or descriptive writing. Now, when we are amplifying, remember that we are amplifying a piece of writing so that we can convince our reader of something or engage our reader in something. And so we're adding things like dialogue, description of a person, detailed actions, and thoughts and feelings. These are the ones that we've learned so far in writing and rhetoric. So but here's our first step when we are amplifying. We first want to identify the most important details. What do you want the reader to connect with? What is the main point? And so when we're reading a specific piece of text, we need to figure out, okay, what is the main point of this reading? What is the main point? Because we don't want to amplify just random parts of the story. It's really important that we're amplifying what's important. And then once we figure out what's important, we want to elaborate on that main point by adding descriptive language, dialogue, and thoughts and feelings. Okay, so here is C on page 84, which is assigned for homework this week. And I'm just going to walk you through how I amplified it, and you can use mine as an example. You can add to mine if you like. You can add to your own in a different way if you like. We will go over the one on page 82, I believe it's on 82 in class. So don't worry, we're still all kind of figuring out the steps when amplifying, but here's just some help as you go about your homework for next week. So this is what's in your book. And the first step, I'm going to identify the most important details. And then what do you want the reader to connect with and what's the main point? So as I'm reading this paragraph, okay, I'm recognizing, okay, that the women were not idle. Okay, that's important. They were busy. So I'm recognizing, Kate, I know that the women were busy. They were determined. They were focused on the task of helping. Okay, helping with the battle. So we know there's some sort of battle. They've talked about British troops here. They're talking about muskets, and so the next important detail in here is that right here, the women were melting down very dear heirlooms. So I know that they're giving up valuable items. And so I really want my reader to understand that these are valuable items that they're giving up as they are busy helping in any way they can. So what I've done is I've actually done two amplifications. I've done one, and then I amplified that amplification even more. And you can go ahead and do that. We know that these are the different ways to amplify, and so sometimes I might go through a reading and I might just choose one way to amplify a reading my first time through. Okay, but remembering, okay, I can't just go ahead and randomly amplify anything in a reading. I need to first check the most important details or what I want the reader to connect with. Okay, so in my first one here, I've added the parts in yellow. The first part I added was the women took all of their most valued possessions, including their silver spoons and wedding rings. Okay, I've added this wedding ring part because I want the reader to understand that they're giving up valuable items, and wedding rings are very valuable. Okay, they're valuable because they're sentimental, not necessarily because they cost a lot, but because these are special things to these women and they're giving them up. And so this is kind of both. It's more detailed. I'm adding amplification by adding detail, but I'm also amplifying this because it connects to how people are feeling. So it's the feeling and emotions amplification there. Then the next part I added every bit of cloth. That's just an exaggeration, Kate. That can be a way to amplify writing. Every bit of cloth in their houses was torn into pieces to become wadding for the muskets. The women tore curtains off the walls, bath towels off their hooks, and bed sheets for their beds. So again, that's just more descriptive writing, adding to our main point that these women are busy in their houses, making sure that everything can be used. Okay, they're determined to help in whatever way they can. But then reading this, I did want to add a little bit more about, I wanted to amplify the thoughts and feelings of these women, and I wanted to add some sort of dialogue if I could. And so I've done another edition here of my amplification. And my second one here, my new parts are in green. So the first part I added was some dialogue. A woman is just talking to herself or to the other women, but I wanted to make sure that our reader understood that these women are helping, but it doesn't mean that they're not upset by what's going on. Our rings too, a woman cried out as she reluctantly pulled hers off a shaking finger. Okay, I've added some detailed writing here with some adjectives, adverbs, as I wanted to show that she's not happy to do this, but she's still doing it. And then the next part I added was, again, I'm amplifying using kind of thoughts and feelings here, okay, right here in my green part here. Their dresses, so we're talking about every bit of cloth, so that's the kind of the connection I've made there. Their dresses were ripped to shreds as the women dared not to think of the laborious sewing by hand and the memories made with their families in this special material. So right there, they're thinking about the memories made with their families, okay? That's connecting to the thoughts and feelings of the reader. The reader now is feeling sympathy for these women, that they're giving up these special things, which again is my main point of the reading. Remember, it's all going back to that main point. What's the main point I want to amplify? Pushing aside their sadness, the women replaced it with a feeling of determination as they tore curtains off the walls, bath towels off their hooks, and bed sheets off their beds. So again, I'm even adding a little bit, okay, they're feeling sad, but they've now replaced it with a feeling of determination, because I do want to amplify the point that these women are here to help in battle any way they can, even though they're not on the battlefield. Okay, and then this would be done, mine is done here, but just remembering, when you are amplifying, making sure that you are first, what do you want the reader to connect with? Okay, right here. And then these are the ways that you can amplify. Now, do you have to do all four? No, of course not. Okay, if there is, I didn't really do a description of a person in this one because it's hard. I don't know these women other than how they're feeling. So I really just focused on thoughts and feelings and maybe a little bit of dialogue. You don't have to do all four, but just remember that, go back to the main point, add any descriptive language, maybe add some adjectives, adverbs, okay? And kind of adding to the flow of the writing a little bit. We won't really focus too much on our flow right now, but going back to the main point every time.